Managing Director, Ignite Advisory, Charles Majomi, who's joining me via Skype. Has been on with me. Now, Charles, it's really worrisome at this time where this challenge with Nigeria's oil and gas sector. You're talking about how we can check or curb this ugly trend to at least reduce this fund we continue to lose while the country needs more revenue, and one way or the other, we're still losing revenue from the same sector that is really our cash cow.
Absolutely. I was even going on to describe how our refineries in Warri and Port are underperforming to such an extent that we're losing about 123 billion naira in the last 10 months from that underperformance. That underperformance is driving the need for us to import subsidized petroleum products, which in turn is causing the country about 750 billion naira a year. In real terms, that amounts to 10 times our health budget and multiples of times our education budget. So the reality is the underperformance of the sector is harming the growth of this nation massively.
Charles, let's quickly touch on gas. We've been talking lately about gas, how to reduce flaring. I saw you in Lagos at the Bidders Conference put together by the Department of Petroleum Resources. How well would you say we are doing with gas and harnessing this gas that we continue to flare day by day?
Well, we're not doing well enough because we still have the gas flares, although they're going down. And of course, we do have this robust program, which we hope will start to see the end of gas flares, albeit on a gradual basis. But keep in mind that we are more of a gas nation than an oil nation. We have about 200 TCF, trillion cubic feet of gas in the ground. We are not developing the gas sufficiently because we are still thinking like an oil nation. Our Petroleum Act, which governs gas developments currently, was not designed to monetize gas. So until we take a very, very stern view of the way we construct laws, we will not be able to effectively monetize that gas. Are you there?
Yes, I'm with you. Go ahead.
One glaring anomaly from my perspective is I wonder why it is that despite the fact that we are so massively endowed with gas, we don't have a gas ministry. Why is it that we don't have an identity for gas as a standalone project? Why is it that we don't have fiscal terms that will allow for investors to monetize their investments in gas? There is a disconnect between the reality of gas in this country and our nation's methodologies with respect to how to develop them. So as long as we have that disconnect, we're not going to see the transition from crude oil to gas at a time in the world when we need to make that transition. Because as you know, crude oil, it's only a matter of time before crude oil and the petroleum and all of that comes from it will be a thing of the past.
All right, Charles, let's move globally now. We know what's been happening, and reports coming in, shows that the oil industry is expected to shrink in Q1 of 2020. Well, no thanks to COVID-19. That's former coronavirus, but now renamed COVID-19. Now, demand is also expected to fall by 435,000 barrels per day compared to what happened in Q1 2019. What do you think this means for Nigeria?
I think it's definitely, again, it's another wake-up call. And I remember being on your show before when we've had this same conversation. We, as Nigerians, cannot be subject to shock from geopolitical realities that are beyond our own control. The coronavirus issue is something that's beyond our control, yet we as producers of crude oil and sellers to markets in China, we will definitely be impacted by that. I think also in terms of global demand, many are projecting that there will be some kind of a global slowdown. And I think that will also affect us as Nigerians. what is important is for us to develop our own abilities to sustain these types of shock by saving for a rainy day, but also by looking beyond crude oil and petroleum. We have to start looking at ourselves as a market for our own processed products, whether it be in crude oil or what I advocate for is in gas, where we can add value to these types of resources, create employment locally, create industries locally, and create some kind of energy independence as a result of this. I think our reliance on crude oil has made us too susceptible to geopolitical influences beyond our own control.
So moving on, what are your expectations? I'm looking at our budget, proper implementation of it, even at this time when we are looking for funds, always 7.5 VAT, and also trying to push for funds in the oil and gas sector. If you look at the price of crude, it is worrisome, Charles.
It is worrisome, yes. And again, this is precisely for the same reason. Why are we always looking at the price of crude oil to determine our future?
Because we are yet to fully diversify our economy.
Absolutely, because we're yet to fully diversify our economy, and we need to start adding value. You know, the problem we have is whether it's crude oil, whether it's gas, whether it's rice, whether it's cocoa, whatever it is that we are producing, we have this very self-destructive habit of exporting the raw material and then buying back the processed material at high cost from markets that end up loaning us money after the fact. We've got to start looking at this anomaly as something that is not healthy for our future. We're not growing. It does not favorably impact GDP. We've got to change the paradigm, start looking at our resources differently, start looking at ourselves as a market, start looking at our region as a market, and stop looking at Europe, China, and all these other places as the only people that can save us from ourselves, frankly.
Charles Majomi, Managing Director, Ignite Advisories. Thank you very much. You joined us live from Abuja. Thank you very much for your time. It's good to